Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update about XRP, we are at first going to check out the mid to long term structures because I do not believe that our bull run in XRP is simply over now. And I think we are going to have a massive move on the upside. And here's the deal. That's actually not a necessarily controversial thing to say. What is controversial is what is going on around the recent price action in like very short term. So in order to have a clear understanding of what the trend actually is looking like, let's talk about the mid to long term first. And I am, like I said it earlier, 1000% bullish. You see, in the long term, in XRP, I fully believe that back in here, starting from August of 2013, we completed a beautiful 5-wave up into a wave 1, followed by that a WXY into wave 2, and then clear cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave up. You need to kind of ignore this shadow because this doesn't actually exist when you go on some other charts. So this is a 5-wave up into this wave 3, and starting from December of 2017, we have been in a consolidation pattern for about 5 to 7 years. Now, here's a very important point. I believe this is a correction for wave 4, and right now we are on our way to complete the subwaves for a massive wave 5. And here is my argument for why I believe this is simply not over yet. I do have a couple of reasons. Number one, whenever you are having long-term drawn-out consolidation patterns, something like this, that actually usually leads to extreme extensions. So what is it that I'm trying to say? Let's just hide everything real quick. There we go. As you can see, in XRP, in the recent phase up, we only took the highest high in here about, let's say, $3.3 by like the smallest margin. However, I said that earlier, in most cases, when you are having corrections like this, long-term ones, you are going to see a massive extension. And again, this is definitely far from extending. So this is the first reason for why I believe our bull run is not over yet. Second reason, what is going on in the midterm? Excuse me. Okay, so I do think that our correction in XRP in the long term actually ended right in here. And from this point, this can be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave up in form of potentially an expanding leading diagonal into a wave 1, followed by that correction for wave 2. And at the moment, I believe we are having something like this. Maybe 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave up into wave 3. And right now, we're having probably a correction for 4, and what's next? Another move up into wave 5, which on a higher degree, that's actually going to be into, excuse me, this orange wave 3, and then correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, and at that point, I don't know, maybe our bull run is going to be over. The point that I'm trying to make is this. I think in the next phase up in XRP, which I do believe there's a very high chance that we are going to get it, we are at that point actually going to see the real extension, and maybe even we are going to reach to about the $10 area. I do not believe that is like an unrealistic target. No, I think $10 might actually be kind of low-key conservative. We may even go to somewhere about 20, maybe even $25. So this was the second reason for why in the mid to long term, I am 100% bullish in XRP. Now let's go on some lower time frames, maybe on H4, and check out the correction structure that we are in right now. First things first, are we actually in a correction or not? Well, I do have two very important reasons to say yes. You see, if you want to argue that we're not actually having a correction, instead our bull run ended right around the highs, well, okay, then you need to be able to show me off of the highest high a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the downside. Now let's go on the live chart and hide everything real quick. There we go. So let me ask you this. How exactly are you able to find from this high to about this low a 5-wave down? For me, it is actually pretty much impossible, and I'm not going to say it's like 100% impossible. No, it is kind of possible, but here is what I have to say. The shape of that 5-wave at that point is going to look so odd that is going to make me say, you know what, it's probably not going to be my primary case. And according to my primary scenario, well, the only conclusion is this. Odds are we are indeed in a correction structure, and after it's over, we are going to start the next major phase of the bull run. This is the first reason for why I believe we are dealing with a corrective movement. Second reason, you see, whenever you are having a very strong move on the upside, maybe a 5-wave, then you need to pay full attention to the shape of the next move down. Why do I believe that we're going to get a move down one way or the other? Because I think we can all agree that nothing is going to go up or down in a straight line. Okay, this is the main argument for why after any kind of strong move on the up and at the same time on the downside, we are going to have some sort of a move on the opposite direction. Now, here's a very important point. One very important characteristic of a correction is being very, very slow and choppy, and you need to constantly in your pullbacks up be able to find overlapping of the waves. If you find something like this, you can be comfortable calling that move a corrective movement. Now, let's go on the live chart and measure this move down timing wise, because you are immediately going to get the idea. How long is it taking for us to have this chopping around situation? About, let's say, 950 candlesticks. On the other hand, you see this huge move on the upside starting from this low about, let's say, the 50 cents area to all the way up here about the $3.50 region, meaning this almost 700% move on the upside happened in only about 480, let's say even 500 candlesticks. So what's the message in here? The message is that despite having way more than enough time, it seems like in the current phase, bears are absolutely failing to pull the price all the way back down to these levels. And from my point of view, well, okay, this is probably a very clear-cut characteristic of a correction structure, indicating bulls still have a lot of power, and I really mean it. They have a lot of power, and soon you are going to see either from the current point or maybe a bit lower, a massive move on the upside. Right now, this is going to be my framework of analysis for the mid to long term. Now, having said all that, the picture in the short term is a bit complicated. Why is that? Let's zoom in more, and maybe it's best to go on like 30-minute time frame. Okay, so if you remember, the last time that we talked about XRP, we were right around here, and the idea was that if you want to be bullish and optimistic, you want to see a consolidation pattern into wave 4 and then another move up into wave 5, followed by a correction and yet another move on the upside. And we said it around these areas, going down in XRP, if you want to say the low is already in, is simply not an option. And what happened? Well, unfortunately, instead, we got a very strong move on the downside. So here's the situation. In XRP, the overall scenario in this area can be a bit complicated. Why is that? You see, if you want to count some subwaves and zoom in on this specific move down, you are going to have a lot of challenges finding a 5-wave down. However, if you want to say this is an ABC, I think you are having clear-cut subwaves for it. But if you are willing to say that maybe this is 1, this is 2, this is wave 3 and 4 and 5. Well, okay, at that point, I do actually see an argument for a structure that we talked about, I believe, maybe like 5 videos back. Let's go on with some chart. Okay, so you see, in XRP, I do believe that we are on our way to have a correction into wave 4. And let me ask you this, in case that you are a regular viewer, what is a very common pattern into our wave 4? You know the answer. An A, B, C, D, E, which we call it a triangular structure in terms of Elliott waves, and in terms of the sub waves, A, B, C basically into every single wave. Okay. ABC down into C, ABC into D, and this is our final ABC on the downside into our E. Now, let's just zoom out a bit more. Maybe it's best to go on like 4-hour time frame. There we go. You see, I think I'm able to find an ABC starting from this high to about here or maybe here, no problem at all, and this can be into an A-leg. Followed by that, it is also very clear that in this phase we are able to identify an ABC up now into our B-leg. Excuse me, let's just go back on H4. And then what is going on here? You see, I think I made that video when we were right around these areas, because the idea was that this can be an A, B, C structure down into C, and followed by that we may see ABC up into D and another move down into our E leg. But I said in this phase down, we are not allowed to take this importance low. However, we took it, so now the structures are a bit different. In this case, I'm going to argue that now to about here, if you are willing to call this thing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this can be our A leg. Followed by that, I think to about this point is our B and another move down into our C leg, and this can be only into this wave C. So what does this mean? You see, this scenario, if it is happening, it implies two very important things. Number one, we are probably not going to have an impulsive structure in this area, and instead this is an A correction for wave B and another move down into our C leg, and then we are going to have yet another move down into our E leg. Number two, well, if the scenario is happening, this suggests in XRP, at least I'm going to say for the next couple of weeks, we are not really going to witness a whole lot of exciting price action. And I know this is absolutely devastating, but one potentially very effective way to push people out of their trades is actually by having some slow and boring moves on the down or maybe on the upside in case that you are overall in a downtrend. This actually can happen, and I have seen these structure playing out way too many times in other markets. So the point that I'm trying to make is this: I think right now in XRP you can say maybe the low is already in here, and that's fine, and you can even say maybe this is 1, this is 2, and then soon we're gonna get like a massive move up into wave 3, 4, 5. In fact, if I argue this, I'm probably going to get a lot more views. However, I'm trying to tell you that you should probably manage your expectations and expect some more chopping around, if not a move down, in order to take this low. And by the way, let me be very clear. In case that we even get this scenario, I do not believe that we should be like overwhelmingly bearish in XRP. No, I still believe the overall picture is going to still remain corrective, and after it's over, we are going to have a massive move up. So if you do not care about the short-term price action, and for example, you really do not care what is going to happen in the next 2-3 weeks, maybe even the next month or two, I would like to suggest to just ignore what is going on in here, because overall the trend is still absolutely optimistic and bullish. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in XRP's charts. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.